screen. Okay, so today, okay, top of the hour, it's 10 o'clock. I have so much respect for you guys that's already here. So everyone who's just coming in. Well, I know Victoria and Narmada. I know you're in Auckland, but I think we have another so those of you that I haven't met, please put in the chat where are you zooming from. And yeah, thanks for being here. Happy Friday. So today we're gonna cover a lightning lesson on qualifying deals better and converting sales faster. So just a quick introduction about myself. And yes, please put in the chat where are you calling from, guys. So I am doing this lesson. Actually, it's a series from today and 2 weeks from now because I have a course on Maven, the very platform that you guys are in right now. It kicks off on November 19. I know it's going to be Thanksgiving in the US, end of November. So probably we'll put a gap there. But my background, just a quick one, have been in tech sales for 27 plus years. Alcatel-Lucent, Ruckus Wireless, now CommScope, and the last one was Vodafone. I've been doing sales, BDM, I did a channel role at the APAC level, and I think my biggest role was really being a country manager, and that was like a huge experience for me. Currently, I'm a trainer. I have a passion for working with salespeople, very elite salespeople, and now I'm also building a startup. So um, just to set expectations or what we're going to cover. So obviously this is a lightning lesson, and as you are like you're in sales, Victoria, and some of you out there, it's a very big topic, both in breadth and depth. So I'm going to share a couple of frameworks with examples, but I just want to hone in that when we qualify deals better, our closing is 21% faster, and we have a win rate of almost 6 times higher than really poor qualified ones. So that's why it's really important. And I'm very curious. What is your industry or sector? Like, I know some of you there, but would be really good for me to know what where you are at right now. Oh, welcome from the UK and Canada. So what's your sector? Like, I know cybersecurity, SaaS, tech SaaS, awesome. Yep, wonderful. So these are really like mostly real estate, Anthony. Nice, welcome. Fintech, cybersecurity, marketing. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. No, I'm asking that because in any sector, and this is my experience, the high cost of poor qualification really has a big impact for us. Whether you're a founder or you're a sales leader or you're an account manager, inaccurate forecasting and pipeline pollution is so bad. Like early in my sales career, I would have a CRM with 300 days. I'm like really stale, right? And we all know that like if you're leading people, you will see and you look at the pipeline. I'm like, what is this, right? It's really bad. And it's very overwhelming. Second, we waste a lot of time and resources, both ours and our client. And third, it's so demoralizing, right? You work on accounts and they never turn into a win for us. So that's why we have to really focus on what matters. So time is a critical factor. The shorter the sales cycle, the higher likelihood of win. And I'm gonna thank you, Cheryl, and I'm gonna welcome. I'm gonna show you some of these frameworks, and gonna go really fast. And understanding this time now is our most valuable asset. I'm not gonna mention a lot of AI tools now. We all have that, but I think one of the tools that I really love at the moment is Notebook LM, and we can use that as well. And shorter sales cycle is really higher win rates. And then what happens is that if you create that momentum, you'll close the deal faster. And I'll show you later on. And focusing on the right opportunities, you actually play to win. You walk away from deals that's not going to happen, or maybe wait for them until they're ready, but don't waste your time at the moment and just focus on the ones that you'll win. And how to create consistent momentum from the time you meet them, how to really drive that momentum until you work together and close that deal. So last night when I was reviewing my slides, I'm like, oh, I need to add this. So this is a, this is a new slide. So with the advent of AI, the reality is there's so many information out there, right? And before we even meet a client, we should not ask what keeps you awake at night. We should have already not only an understanding of their business, but also of their ecosystem and be able to bring value to them. After spending more than, 27 plus years in sales, I start to see patterns. So what separates the good from the great salespeople is that they have this powerful trait to be able to provide genuine thought leadership. And thought leadership is a bit fluffy, right? So we'll go through that. So an average seller will sell a product, will pitch a solution, and their goal is to really make a sale. The difference of elite salespeople are they sell insights and expertise, the things that they've experienced through the trenches. Like, you guys have so much valuable experience in the last few years you've been in sales or marketing. Get that out there. Act as an expert, and your goal is to really provide value to your client. And obviously, hoping that that would transition to a trusted relationship. But how do you walk into a meeting as an expert without pitching, right? That's gonna be the tough part. So don't lead with your product or solution. Lead with insight, because nobody cares about our features and our functionality until they understand how those features actually solve their problems. So your initial conversation should be all about them. Understand their challenges, what their goals are, what their aspirations, without generically asking them what keeps you awake at night. Like, we need to have a business hypothesis already. Show them the value that they'll gain aligned to their business impacts. I'm gonna show you how to do it, right? So, core challenge: how to be an expert without pitching. Focus on discovery and not presentation. So here's my framework. There's four things here, but then I'm gonna get down to the details, okay? So one is the trend. The second one is the reality of your client or the business or the organization. The third one is their imperative, like their key, I don't want to say key KPI, but what must they achieve? And the fourth one is their persona, like who are you talking to? What kind of person you're talking to? How do they perceive communications? How do they receive it? That's really, really important, because people are very different. You want to be able to communicate to the level they want it to be communicated to. So if you know this is really powerful. So let's start with trends. So what's happening? This is really the ecosystem. This is a wide angle view of your client's world, economic, technology, regulatory undertaking. So for example, you're in cybersecurity as what you have. So what are the regulatory undertakings that they need to take? What are the social factors happening? So to find the trends, industry publications, I use Notebook LM a lot. Are you guys have been experimenting with that? So you put all of the data on the Notebook LM, industry publications, analyst report, and you can actually ask questions. And then you can even run them as a podcast, and you can interfere and ask questions with them. It's crazy. So again, it's an AI. You got to make sure what they're spitting out is actually really true. That's one of the things. We don't want to be someone who doesn't know what the data is. And then the second one is the reality. So with this, what's happening to them? We need to connect the macro trend to their specific impact. So, for example, COVID happened. There's a impact on supply chain. So shipping costs went up. At that time we had an export business. We actually closed it down because that was really something that we couldn't afford. So how to find the reality if it's not obvious as COVID, right? Annual reports, their own LinkedIn posts, Sales Navigator, news, podcasts, and interviews. There's so much information out there that by the time you meet your client, you need to have a business hypothesis. You cannot go and ask them what keeps you awake at night. Okay, I'm emphasizing on that. The third one is the imperative. What do they need to achieve? So it's different from what they need to do, right? What are they need to achieve? You can see this from their annual reports, because in the annual reports, you can do very high level. Let's say they have an AI governance, right? So ask from that, and then they would go down deeper on what their role needs to do for that imperative. And then, oops, sorry. And then persona, who are they? So I would define four people, but there's more than this. This is just a high level. So you have the analytical person. They need data or proof. And then when you talk to them, you need to use numbers. So you're like, we helped this company improve their blank with 32% revenue, something like that. Visionary people, like there's one of the telcos, their CTO, he's just visionary. When he talks about how will I get there? I want to be the number one mobile network in Australia. That's enough for them to get into you and have that conversation, right? Because they're very visionary. They like shiny big things. And the pragmatic, they only care if it works. So they want to see a demo, they want to do a proof of concept. These are the things to how to make sure that they're with you. The last one is a buy-in. So this type of buyer, they need to have people around them who will say, "Yep, I'm with you. I'll support you." So those are the four basic persona on how to communicate with them. So if you actually combine this, becoming a thought leader, trends, reality, what do they need to achieve in persona? It's such a powerful insight. So you need to combine that framework with your own voice, and that's how you become a thought leader. So the ultimate goal is people need to trust us. People need to buy you, your ideas, your insight, your expertise. You got to own the room while listening. I know it's really hard. Being a salesperson is one of the best, goal role in the world because you have so many skills that you have to sharpen up, and you become a really indispensable partner and trusted advisor. And it's a great feeling. I know you guys, you're in sales, you know that, right? When you just simply get into the groove with your client, it's just the best feeling. All right, so that was the slides that I had to add because I didn't want to assume that you already have that before you meet the client. Now you're in the client, you're meeting with a client. Okay, we have time. You're meeting with a client, you need to qualify. So qualifying out is just as important as qualifying in. And this is something that you don't do upfront. You do it during the whole sales process because we need to be really ruthless because time is of the essence to us, especially if you're a sales leader, you have a forecast, you need to put your time where it will happen. And don't worry, even for those accounts that's not ready, they're going to come in the next 6 to 12 months, right? But you just want to focus on those that you will win. So to avoid not being able to qualify well, structure the conversation. And I'm going to run through the 5 steps on how to structure. If you've been in some of my lightning lessons, you've probably seen it. But this is something that I go in deep dive during the course. Again, as I said, it's important to qualify out as in, and you need to have your own list. Like in your head, what are the 2, 3 key things that your ideal client or ideal customer profile would have to be able to take you in the next journey, right? What is important to them? What are their values? What is the impact? What are the results that they want? That's really crucial. So you need to have that so you can navigate that conversation. So how many, by the way, I just want to ask, how many of you have worked on a client and either you just get ghosted or they just disappear after being excited and asking for a proposal and suddenly they just disappear after a few days of submitting a proposal or something. Have you experienced that? Can put in the chat. Yes, sure. Yeah, I do as well. Yeah, yeah. And it's very gutting, right? Because you've spent so much time. And now I'm more of like, if I give a proposal, is this something that we will work together? So yeah, being also not afraid because sometimes we're like, oh, I don't want to lose this account. But actually, we haven't won anything yet. And sometimes, we fall in love with the client. So ORD framework is what I use. This is high level because under this framework are mini mental models too, but real focused on the opportunity. So resources and decision making, I'll cover that in the following lightning lessons next week. So opportunity, resources, and decision making. Those are the 3 key pillars that we need to cover before we even decide that we want to work with them or even spend time giving a proposal. So we need to be able to say, I'm gonna gracefully exit, or probably he's not ready. We'll nurture that and we'll probably get back to it in 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, or maybe they'll just call you when they're ready. And every time we work on an account and say we want to give a proposal, then we give them the exact solution because we know the ORD, opportunity resources decision making. And with that exact solution, they will get the results that they want. So very quickly, then I will go to the details. Okay. So now you're in a meeting, you've set it up, you have an agenda. How do you actually qualify and also giving value to your client? Because you don't want to end up just asking questions and your client doesn't feel like they're getting value from you. We gotta make them think, right? And they would be like, oh my God, that meeting went so well. I got it. There's so many things I need to think about and to consider. I want to work with this person. So we're good. You guys good? Okay. So 5 steps on how to qualify. Number one, don't jump to selling a product or a solution. I know it's not obvious, but our clients, as soon as they ask us to talk about our product, it's just so easy to get excited and give them the download, right? Second, get out all the issues first. Prioritize the issues. Gather evidence and impact. Does that issue actually is real? Or even if it's real, are they willing to financially support it, right? Because I've spent 6 months on a deal before, and even though they want to solve it in the end, there were more important $1 million projects that they want to spend on than mine because the impact on mine is less than the other projects. And then explore context and constraints. Things like, why haven't they done this before? Why are they doing this now? Okay, let's go into the details. So go into a client, and normally the client will say, hey, Ren, give me a proposal on this. And you know what? As salespeople, like, who's excited when someone asks you about your products and services, and then you just run down, oh, yeah, we have this, we have this, we have that. Who's excited when you do that? Yeah, of course, we're all excited, right? But we need to stop and say, okay, this is a critical mindset shift, right? Stop leading with our products. Again, nobody cares about a product until they understand how we solve them. So when someone asks, hey, talk to me about your SaaS, and I know Narmada, your company is so many solutions, right? So first ask them, okay, what are the problems you are looking at? So I'm kind of generic now, but if you are in your own industry, think about, remember, you already have a business hypothesis of what your clients' problems are or what are the results that they want. So if they say, okay, I'm looking at you, Victoria. Let's say, give me your cybersecurity solutions. I don't know if that's correct. So we step in and say, well, thank you for your interest, but before I tell you everything about our wonderful solutions, can you please let me know what are, and you've read that they have a transformation happening. What are the key challenges you have now in the transformation project you have on cybersecurity? Or if not a problem, what are the results that you want working on your transformation goals? That's still very generic, but they will start honing in to those key important, and then you go down deeper, right? Then once they've mentioned to you what is the problem, then what is the evidence that that problem exists? Now sometimes this sounds really funny, but I'll give you an example. I was working with a software company. I was working with the CEO, and we had an opportunity to work on a very big not-for-profit global company, and they currently have Salesforce. And so we asked the CEO, why are you interested to have a new CRM? Because he wanted a proposal. And we said that, and he said that, oh, because I couldn't get data from the CRM. So why can't you get data from the CRM? Then at the end of that meeting, we realized that the salespeople are not actually putting data on the CRM. Now, what is the problem? Is it that because it's too complex for them, and so they need a very simple CRM? Or is it because salespeople really don't want to use the CRM, which is gonna be 6 months down the road, we're never gonna close that account? See, you get what I mean? Like, you really need to hone down on what is the evidence that exists. And what is the soft evidence? Like, when a bad things happen, what are the consequences? When a good thing happen, what will allow them to do? And if you really get to this, you'll be able to help your clients see their blind spots. And they will realize, in that meeting that I really need to work on this with this person. But if that person doesn't have those information, well, it means you're talking to the wrong person. Either you ask them who's the right person, or can we talk to them about it? And actually, is it important? Maybe you can build a business case. Do they like some help? But really understanding the context and the constraints around it. So if along this way you cannot get any information, it's already red signal that that is not a real opportunity. That is before you get even as a even before you get into a proposal stage. Okay, so I'm conscious of time. We have like 10 minutes. So how to co-create next steps and drive action. And this is very tactical. I'll go really, really fast. Shift your mindset. Okay. Now I know talking about money can be very hard for salespeople and buyers alike. It feels awkward. But most buyers at large companies, they have expectations around how long each phase of a sales process should take. And they tend to be longer. You must challenge these expectations wherever possible. Remember, you've already spoken about the ROI and what the result will enable them to do. Okay, this is the stage. You're not qualifying anymore. You're in a stage where you understand the problem and you're sure you can help them. Now you must challenge it. So first, help them navigate their buying process. Behave like you're not selling, and you need to facilitate that. Then educate them on the most efficient path. So you can tell them, you're a big corporate, and based on my experience with similar companies, I found that the most successful implementations involve are 1, 2, 3, and we need to involve your CFO. We need to involve your, legal. Who are the other people that needs to make those decisions if they have not shared it with you? But I find most C levels, they'll share with you who you need to work with. So would it be helpful if I share a checklist or a timeline that outlines those steps? You can say that. So to co-create, I think this is a bit redundant, but I'll go through it. Enterprise people and even bigger companies, they crave structure, and sometimes they're just so overwhelmed. So if you can pave the way for them in very little ways, they'll be very grateful. But you're taking the horn and just dealing with it and really navigating that, right? So prescribe a timeline with clear steps and responsibilities. Establish a shared understanding. Always have micro commitments. I call it micro commitments because when you submit the proposal, most salespeople ask for that sale, right? You don't. You start the micro commitment from the very beginning, from discovery call, qualifying, strategizing, doing technical scope of works. You start with that. And then to ensure that you're respecting your time, tell them I've outlined a process on how we will work together. So some sales teams create Notion pages. I create a Notion page. Some people do even digital rooms. There's so many fancy digital rooms out there, but you don't have to if you just have a document that outlines how you will work together. So this is one example. This is just an Excel sheet, right? You tell them like, okay, we're doing a scoping meeting now. We're going to validate this. We're going to tell you scope of materials and apply it in your own industry. I know I saw real estate and like how do people make decision, right? Like you can put a timeline around it and don't make it fancy, make it more simple, even bullet points. But what I'm trying to say is you have a very shared understanding of how you will work together. And if they say, oh, this is too much for me, oops, sorry, then you know that it's not a real opportunity. Then you can now go and focus on better priorities, right? And not waste time. Okay, sorry. This is a buyer sales process that's part of the sales training that I'm running. If you want to copy, it's on Google Sheet because every part of this activity, there's a template. So when you click on it, you'll be able to get the template. So if you're happy to To receive that, let me know. I'll send it to you on the next email as well after you get the recording. And the last one, this one. Actually, this is second to the last. So the power of double meetings. Now, hold this, okay? Some of you might say, "Oh my God, Ren, I think that's so pushy." So this really works. Okay, this really works. Here's the idea. After your initial discovery call, don't wait a week or even a few days to follow up. Schedule another meeting for the very next day. Okay, so after the discovery call, you go like, okay, I have all of your requirements. I know what you want. I might not be able to give you my full proposal, but I'd like to go back with you and process this tomorrow at 3 p.m. Something like that. Or they would be saying, oh, I have a meeting tomorrow. I'm not free. We can do it Friday. But you want to make sure that you immediately have that next meeting, because you have momentum, right? And then present your initial idea and get immediate feedback. Like tell them it's not a proposal again. It's just this is what we've discussed. This is what I think we should look at. This is kind of 80% of my proposal. What do you think? They're gonna give you immediate feedback if you're off track. They're gonna give you even the pricing. Like if you said like, oh, I think I can only afford 50K and you have a proposal for 100K, then okay, how should we do that? How do we scope that? Like it has to be a co-creation of the proposal because it will dramatically shorten the sales cycle. And even if they say, well, I don't think this is gonna work for me, that's good because you're not gonna waste time. And I tell you, if you start focusing on those that really matters, then you're gonna close more deals faster and not waste times on deals that's just sitting there on your CRM. So this is one of the things that I use. I say, based on our conversation yesterday, I've put together a few initial ideas on how I might be able to help you. Bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. I'd love to get your feedback and see if we're on the right track. So here you're already getting these micro commitments, right? Yes? Thumbs up? We're gonna wrap up soon. Last two slides. So mapping the stakeholders. So one of the things that I do as well, right? So this is quite tactical. Before there's a big meeting that I submit a proposal, and then you'll have a few people, like 3 to 5 people in the room. I do short one-on-one calls before the group meetings because what I find out for enterprise deals, they don't talk, and you get this different feedback that I will walk in a meeting and they're just gonna have some internal conversation, and I think another client has also experienced this. So gather valuable intelligence. The Japanese call them nemowashi. Use pre-intros before you go into a big group meeting. Get everyone on the same page. So if you discover, ooh, they're not actually aligned, get that out immediately. Don't wait for them to sit on it. And then make group meetings much more productive because everyone is aligned. So this one, very quickly, how to map stakeholders within that enterprise. You normally have 3 to 5 roles. So don't, yeah, I know it's a bit overwhelming, but that's what we're gonna do next week. Okay, so TLDR, lead with insights, not products. Too long, did not read. Rigorously qualify, align your solution with executive level metrics. All about the business, right? Focus on the impact to them. Always talk about their business. It forces you to look beyond the technical buyers. All right, cool. Hey, I need a favor from you guys. I need you to share one key takeaway on the chat, please. I would love it. Like, what is one that really resonates with you? Awesome, Isba. Thank you, Victoria. What is one that resonates? I'm so on time. I have 1 minute left. Yep. Awesome, Victoria. I think we all know that it's just so hard to do on the ground. Challenge the buyer's expectation no matter of how long the process should take. Awesome. Thank you. Good. Qualifying, Cheryl. Yeah, thanks, Victoria. Thanks for joining. All right, so if you're keen to join me and have some questions, let me know. I'll send you an email. You guys want the recording, right? And some of the templates. I'll send it to you. And next week on Friday, we're gonna do build shorter sales cycles. It's really more on how to map the decision makers and find out who's blocking you, who's gonna be your champion, who's gonna coach you. And the third one is how to present winning proposals. So really excited. Thank you, Anthony, for being here. Let me know if you have any more questions. Happy to stay for another 5 minutes. I'll stop sharing for now. Thank you, Cheryl. Have a great day.